Welcome to the University of Michigan Dentistry Podcast Series, promoting oral health care worldwide.
Waxing of the complete denture is the last laboratory procedure prior to processing of the denture into acrylic resin. The definition of waxing is the proper contour and shape of the two parts of the denture, the art portion, which is the gingival roll and contour around the teeth, and the flange area of the denture. Basically, there are three ways to carry out this procedure. The first way is to add, with a number 7 spatula or other instrument, soft molten wax around the necks of the teeth, and then carve and make this configuration in the soft warm wax. The second way is to take strips of wax, usually somewhere in the neighborhood of a ½ an inch thick, warm these wax of strips, and then place these wax strips on the denture, seal it to the teeth on both sides, and then again carve and form this configuration of the wax. The third method is to use already prepared plastic preformed patterns. These are patterns for palates. These are preformed patterns for the art portion or the flange portion of the denture. Everyone uses a different method for waxing. The method itself is not the important thing, but it is the end result that is important. For it's much easier, as you know from other courses, whether it be Crown and Bridge or others, it is much easier to make the pattern in wax than it is to carve the pattern in either gold for a crown or, in this case, acrylic resin for the denture. The first step for waxing is to remove the casts from the articulator. It is much easier to wax if these are off of the articulator, so I'm going to quickly take these off. And then the first thing that you should do, if it hasn't been done before, is to seal the base plate to the cast around the boxing edge. You must go all the way around and seal the base plate to the cast so that during the processing procedure the base plate does not become removed from the cast and allow the acrylic to go where we don't want it to go. After that is done, I'm going to show you the two methods. First of all, on the upper cast, we're going to use the wax added method by adding molten wax around the necks of the teeth. Try to keep as much wax off of the teeth as you possibly can. Because remember, wherever you put wax and don't remove it, it will result in being acrylic resin. I'm making a gingival roll here, and as soon as this wax cools a little bit, we'll go in and carve it back from the teeth and contour it a little bit better than it is now. The other thing, when you're waxing the anterior portion of the denture, the cuspid should have a slight cuspid eminence. This cuspid eminence, in some patients, helps to better support the corner of the mouth or the corner of the cheek. It's usually advisable to use 2 number 7 spatulas when you're waxing. One number 7 spatula stays warm when you're adding the soft wax, and if you have another number 7 spatula that is cool, You can then use that to go around and remove the excess wax from the teeth and to start to define the gingival cuff and the gingival border. Then I like to take the large end of the number 7 spatula and start to contour the gingival roll. Now I'm going to work on this off camera a little bit, and we'll come back in just a few minutes and we'll show you the end product. It's taken me about 5 minutes now to contour this a little bit better than you just saw it. And I'd like to go around now and go around each of these teeth. You can use either a sharp end of a number 7 or a Explorer, and make sure, I can't emphasize this enough, that you get all of the wax from the teeth and make a very sharp border now around these teeth. As you can see, even though that it's rough, I have made a gingival cuff around each of these 3 anterior teeth, and now we'll go and smooth this up. Now the easiest way to smooth this is to take a hot instrument and just very lightly touch the wax, and the wax will flow, as you know, and it will almost smooth itself up. Up here in the flange area, you can very quickly pass the hot number 7 over the wax, and almost all the irregularities now are gone. The last step is to take the hand-out torch, and you must be very careful with the hand-out torch so that you do not splash wax on the teeth, and just very lightly, with a few strokes, flame the wax to eliminate the majority of the irregularities. And for the most part, those 3 front teeth now are pretty nicely waxed the way that they should be. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is to work on the palate of the denture. The thickness of the palate, as with the flange areas, both on the upper and the lower denture, a good guideline to use is the thickness of the base plate, which is already there, plus a thickness of pink base plate wax. In the first step for this palate, we'll take a hot number 7 and smooth out any irregularities that may be there from your setting of the teeth. Any wax drips or bubbles or anything like this you must eliminate before you start this procedure. And then for the palate, we'll take a wax strip and we'll heat it real good in a flame until it's quite soft. And then we will adapt this to the palate. And as you adapt it for this soft wax, the thickness of the wax, of course, will decrease a little bit, and that's good because we want to keep all of the areas of the denture as thin as they possibly can be. The thinner that the flanges are, the more room for the patient's tongue, and the more easily he is able to adapt to dentures. And of course, the easier it is for him to speak with dentures. I'm trimming the edges off here now. And now we'll go around all these edges and seal this wax strip to the teeth. And in the posterior here, we will seal it to the cast at the edge of the boxing edge. Now, the minor irregularities in the palate, my fingerprints and minor discrepancies are in the wax because I formed it there when it was soft. So now we'll take the hand-out torch, and again, just a few strokes of the torch, flame this palate to eliminate any rough areas. And there is a finished wax palate. The posterior teeth of the upper, the teeth themselves give you some guideline as to how far to carry the wax down onto the tooth. And these posterior teeth that you have been using in this course have a collar on the gingival portion of the tooth, and the wax should extend right up to this collar of the tooth. Now we'll leave this upper wax up for a minute, and I'll demonstrate another technique with the lower denture. On this lower, I will show you similarly how to wax this using a wax strip. Now again, as on the upper, all rough portions of wax should be removed before you start to wax, and also all wax should be taken off the teeth and the teeth exposed pretty much where you want. Again, the base plate should be sealed to the cast, and the boxing edge should be shown so that it will be easy to demarcate during the processing procedure where the denture stops and the boxing edge begins. Now, for the lower, we're going to heat up another strip of wax. This is a small strip of wax, about ½ an inch wide. And we will put this on the teeth like this, with part of the wax covering the neck of the tooth. The edge down here by the boxing edge will be removed. And now we will go around the necks of the teeth and scallop this gingival border in order to start making these teeth look natural. As you can see, this whole waxing procedure is a process in order to make the teeth of a denture look like natural teeth. Now, again, we will go around the necks and roughly carve the wax to start to make it look like a gingival collar or a gingival cuff. It's then important with a wax strip to seal this strip of wax around the teeth. Now, with my other number 7, which is cool, I can go around and remove any wax from the teeth above this collar. And again, start to smooth out and demarcate this gingival cuff a little bit better. And now we'll start to smooth out this wax in a similar way that we did on the upper. Now, as you can see on this lower buccal flange is becoming the same configuration that the last page of your handout is. It shows a gingival cuff, and it also shows a buccal roll that's down in this area. Now we'll go over this area with a few strokes of the handheld torch. We got out most of the irregularities. And these final irregularities we can remove with a hot number 7, so that when this wax up is ready for processing, all of these borders will be exactly what you desire. As a last step, you can do 2 things before sending these to the laboratory in order to be processed. After this wax is thoroughly hardened, and in the laboratory it might be a good idea to thoroughly chill these in cool water, because the laboratory is so warm, as you know, and this wax is very difficult to carve and sculpture when it is warm. So thoroughly chill it with water. And again, go around each of the collars of the teeth, both buccal and lingual, and make sure that the wax is entirely off the occlusal portion of the tooth. Because if it is not, that will later be, of course, acrylic. So that is pretty much how we do a wax up. Now I have a few things to show you that will give you some idea in more exacting detail of what really a wax up as far as the art portion of the gingival portion is concerned. This is a model of a dentition, of a natural dentition, that gives you a pretty good idea of what normal, healthy gingiva looks like. As you can see here, this cuspid is very dramatic. It has a little gingival recession. It has a little of the root of the tooth showing. You can see between the cuspid and the first bicuspid little lines and grooves and tension marks. This is what normal, healthy gum tissue looks like. I think another good idea before you start to wax your denture is to look in your own mouth or look in your neighbor's mouth and see what healthy gum tissue looks like. On this side of this model, we have removed the stone teeth, and we have set replacement denture teeth, and we have also waxed these teeth with gingival rolls, tension marks, gingival cuffs, and on the cuspid a little gingival recession, to show you that waxing a denture can look just like natural if it is done properly and well. Now, as I have said a couple of times, the waxing procedure is done so that the final processed dentures, when they come back from the laboratory, are properly contoured. This is an example of a poor wax job. There is very little anatomy. There is small amounts of acrylic, pink acrylic, the basal part of the acrylic on the teeth. There's no gingival cuff. And really, as far as the denture, this really isn't very pleasing. A better example of what a good wax-up results in is this case that is ready for delivery. You can see that the gingival rolls and the gingival cuffs around each of these teeth is slightly different. They aren't exactly the same. They aren't all perfectly round and scalloped. And this gives a much better result. And this is, of course, what we are trying to have you do. Now, let me show you a completed wax-up on your Technic case. And these models will be in the display case for you to see.
You've been listening to a presentation from the University of Michigan School of Dentistry, which is dedicated to supporting open learning and open educational resources. This recording is licensed under the Creative Commons. It may be reused and redistributed for nonprofit use. Please attribute materials to the University of Michigan School of Dentistry and redistribute under this same license. For more information on how this and other University of Michigan School of Dentistry recordings may be used, visit www.dent.umich.edu/license.